No, it's totally normal. It's totally normal.
That's how I operate my day. I can turn my stockings into swords.
Silly show. Speaking of silly shows, Mark Crombo Weebs. My name is Cole. His name is Mike. His name is Jay. We like anime, and this is episode 141 of AniPro. And on this week's episode, we will be reviewing Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. What a title! What a show! We will discuss it. And as is tradition now, for 2 weeks, one of us maybe didn't watch it. see if you can figure out who it was.
Just a newly formed tradition.
And just to be clear, last week all three of us read the manga. So
yeah. But did we all read it? Did we all watch this show this time?
Did we all
stay tuned to find out?
Stay tuned to find out.
How are you both, gentlemen? Mike, it's been a long time since I've seen your face. How are you?
Yes.
What's new?
I am good. I am a tired boy today because yesterday we went out with our good friend Nug Deep, who was previously on the podcast for long-term listeners, and we went out and celebrated his little bachelor party. So that was a lot of fun. Had some cigars and drank some beers and did all sorts of shenanigans. But I am a sleepy boy because I don't usually do such activities anymore. I'm old. I'm an old man these days.
It's tough being old. Even by the end of the night for me, I was like, oh yeah, it's a busy day. Day out and about, smoking those big cigars. I've never had a Cuban cigar. That was a very cool experience. We can get Cuban cigars up here in Canada. That's totally legal.
Did you do like the classic, like you had the Cuban cigar in your mouth while you were puffing the smoke out?
Yes.
Like in your teeth?
You should have seen Cole. It was actually like impressive. Other than I think you were too powerful because you kept you almost out smoked your cigar because he was like, I looked over and Cole was like going, and there was just like billowing. It was like you could barely see his face. He was like a chimney billowing. He was like a steam engine billowing coal out of his mouth. It was crazy.
Yes. Good times were had. It was very cool.
Never had like big stogie before either. That was kind of a neat experience.
Yeah, and I don't know how, like, smoking indoors is illegal where we are, but somehow this establishment allows it, and I don't know how this works, but I'm not going to report them or anything because it was very cool, and I would like to go there eventually at some point.
I know, in like the 60s and 70s, like there were like specifically smoking areas.
60s and 70s.
60s and 70s. Oh, Jay,
I remember it as a child.
Your age, my young friend. Yeah, I remember it. I was there.
I always found it funny too, the smoking section at a restaurant. Somebody compared it once to having a peeing section in a pool. Like it doesn't really it doesn't make sense. The smoke's getting everywhere.
It's all air. Like it's an open room.
I guess like if you close it off and it's a separate room.
If it's a completely separate room, but it never was. It was like a part of it that was a little bit partitioned off, but
there was like the one that I particularly remember was our small town restaurant that we people would frequent. And I remember the smoking section was like literally just the other half of the restaurant, and it's just a big open room. And I think there might have been like a hip level wall or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that does nothing.
Like that clearly doesn't.
Heat rises.
No. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's why everywhere back then was like, it was just a haze of smoke. You'd walk into like a bar and it would just be smoky bar. Yeah.
But
very cool time though. I like
one thing I do while we're on the topic of smoking, smoking made pictures, like sports pictures of like basketball games and stuff way better because you get that like cool haze effect that we just don't get anymore.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. Bring back smoking in arenas. Just for the cool pictures.
Well, just pump smoke in.
Yeah.
Just like smoke machines. Just have smoke machines to like get a little bit of a haze. Just a bit of a haze.
Okay, maybe that's the move. Maybe that could be the
like
move.
Blast the song. What's that song called where like it starts with like y'all ready for this and then
I believe that song might be called Y'all Ready for This.
Is it?
I have no idea.
I don't know. One of those jock jam songs.
Yeah. Jock jam.
Because you got to start every basketball game with that song.
You have to. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you said it and everybody knew.
Yeah.
Or the Space Jam song.
That too. That's a good one too.
Yeah, that's a
or
good.
Who Let the
that's a
Dogs
good
Out when they come out.
Yeah, that one could work too.
Yeah.
A bit less like, I don't know, anything from the movie Space Jam. I think. I'm like, those ones got to be played at every basketball game. But I'm not the arbiter of songs that are played at basketball games. You know who is the arbiter of songs played at basketball games?
Jay Garterbelt.
Jay Garterbelt. How is it going, Jay?
It's going well. You know, I had a plan for what I was going to talk about for what's been going on with me. And it just
so you schemed something up, hey?
See, the scheme would have worked if I remembered what it was. I'm also very, very tired.
Let's refresh his memory. Orange Crystal Light.
No.
Crushing water bottles. Walking in the heat.
No.
Working. No.
Trying to find shoes.
Yeah.
That's random.
Feeding food into your gullet.
Finding...
Did you read something?
No. Well, I did, but that's not what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, what a stupid question.
Of course you did. Yeah.
It
goes without saying.
I'm a stupid idiot.
I guess I can talk about this because I did this recently. So I went to so in our city we have this like citywide event where like every country of the world will put on its own like show, and they have like their like authentic food from the country. And
it's like a folk culture festival is what I call it. Like from cultures around the world. It's a really cool thing that our city does for sure. Other cities do it too.
Really cool thing. And I went to a couple of the shows because like they're different shows like all over the city. It's not like you go to one place and they just like have a different thing every day. No. All the shows are like all over, and then like they switch up which countries are doing their thing week by week, so it's a 2-week event. So I went to a couple of shows. I went to the Irish Pavilion, had a Guinness. It was very, very good.
As you should.
Yeah.
Yes. Guinnesses are good. Have you ever had a Guinness before?
I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, give me your thoughts, because Guinness is an interesting one. Guinness is controversial.
It's a very hard beer. Like, was how I described it when I first tried it.
Okay.
The weird thing about Guinness, and maybe you picked up on this or not, is it's not like very super carbonated.
Yeah, it's pretty
that
flat.
Microcarbonation.
Yeah, it's almost flat, but like there's obviously carbonation because you get that big. Because
you get like a lot of foam.
Yeah. And then ooh, yeah. I like one Guinness. It's like a one and done beer.
It's a one and done beer, exactly. Yeah. But like I got like a full are those like big cans considered a pint, or is that?
I think they're a pint.
Is that a pint? Yeah. Okay, so I had like a pint. I had a pint of Guinness. That was really good. And then some meat stew. Was really good.
The Irish tradition. Meat stew and Guinness.
Meat stew and Guinness. But yeah, that's kind of the idea of like the menu you'd see. Like it's very, very traditional, that country.
Yeah. Like last year, I think Cole and I went to the Japanese one.
Yeah.
And we had like they had some curry, and they had, I forget what else they had for food. I don't think they had sushi, but just kind of like that. A beef bowl, I think, was one of the things. Yeah. And then they did like karate and played some drums and kind of just sit there and eat the food and watch the stuff. It's kind of neat.
Drink some Sapporo or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very cool concept that we...
And you know what? If you find out that the place you live has some kind of like culture festival or folk festival, check it out. There's some like cool stuff there.
Yeah, it's very insightful. Yeah,
very, very
and insightful. I mean, like usually they put on there's like a show or something involved with it as well, not just the food. So it's like a cultural exhibition, I guess.
Yeah, makes the world a better place because you learn a little bit about each other, right?
Yeah, it's all about coming together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Coming together.
Speaking of coming together, Cole.
Panty and stocking. Oh.
What's going on with the old Coley?
Well, guys, I'm a little bit tired today. Yesterday I went out on we had a bachelor party for a friend of the podcast.
No way.
Deep filled in for me when I was in Japan. Shout out to Nug Deep for that one. Yep. No, in all seriousness, that's pretty much what's kind of been on my mind this week as well. It was a lot of fun. It was a very cool, different thing that we did that we would never normally do, like that cigar bar. Nug Deep seemed to have a good time, so much so, in fact, he threw up after, and that was not a result of him in the midst of his bachelor party.
You're welcome
No,
to the
because-
mental image, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, this happens.
We don't want to
you
get.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was and it wasn't a result of the alcohol.
It was the cigars that did him in, I think.
Yeah,
not
it
the
was
not
the
the alcohol.
tobacco,
He
he
almost
said.
didn't. He
Or
only
was
had
it
like
the combination of the
beers.
two?
he only
No,
had
I think it was.
he only had
yeah,
one
he only
drink.
beer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's surprising. For a bachelor
Yeah.
party?
Yeah, we're old.
He's not a drinker.
Yeah,
None of us are.
None of us
but,
are
like,
drinkers.
That's fair.
Yeah, except for the elephant in the room. Yeah.
But I didn't even. I counted. I had 2 at the cigar bar, 1 at dinner, and then I had 1 at home.
You know what is a really good way to not overdrink, by the way? Because I do like a drink here and there, and I can hold my liquor quite well. When the drinks are like $19 each.
Yeah.
That's a great way to not drink a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
the cigar
it was
bar was not cheap.
No. Yeah, when I got my bill, I was
Ooh.
You had to pull your collar a couple times from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of a like literally when I ordered, they were like, "Do you want a double of that scotch?" And then I was like, just on instinct, like, "Yeah, sure, that sounds good." And then Cody bought was like, "Oh, so if it's like a double, that's like it says
Twice the
$19, so like that's $40 then." And I'm like, I'll take a single.
Yeah.
That's how they get
my
you.
drink.
That's how they
My
get
drink.
you.
My drink was $20 for a shot of
For
whiskey.
1 ounce. 1
Yeah.
ounce.
And I got 2 of them. Dumb.
Yikes.
Dumb. But it was cool. It was a very. That would be a cool thing to do. Every couple.
No,
months
it's an
or something.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice little treat.
Not every day you have a bachelor party for like one of your best friends.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You gotta live. You can't take it with you. So
We did everything you would expect. The manly things. We went and we smoked cigars and drank whiskey and scotch. We did some barbecuing. Right?
Korean
Right?
barbecuing.
Korean
Yeah.
barbecue.
Played a copious amount of meat,
Ate
floofy style.
an outrageous amount of meat. Played
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
golf.
Did play some
Okay.
golf of the Mario variety.
Mario golf. And then we all went to bed sleepy. Yeah. So it was a good time. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, moving on from doing things that are very manly. Very manly.
Yes.
Let's move on to things that were perhaps a little childish. Let's revisit our youths.
Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about today.
Yes. Let's talk about cartoons, which, hey, you're probably thinking, we always talk about cartoons. That's what we do.
That's literally the show.
This is a podcast all about cartoons. Ha! Gotcha. No, it's not. This is a
Psych.
podcast about anime. I don't know if you realize this, but usually what we're talking about is Japanese animation. What we want to talk about in this first half, though, is maybe shed a little bit of light on the Western animation side of things. Maybe stuff that we watched as children. Maybe stuff that we watched as adults. Maybe stuff that we will watch as elderly men in the
Wrinkly
future.
old men.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think what brought this on, a little peek behind the curtain. Usually, whoever's review this is kind of has to come up with a topic of discussion for the first half. So
A tangentially related topic. Yeah.
So Mike suggested this Western animation discussion, and I'll let Mike kind of explain like what the rationale here is in case it's not obvious to everybody.
Yeah, and if people have watched Panty and Stocking, they'll probably understand where this is coming from, because the whole show is basically like, it's honestly just like one big riff on as Cole takes a sip from his big measuring cup. It's like a big like, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say meme, but like it's like
Homage.
it's an homage or one big reference to like Western media and old school cartoons in general. And I just kind of thought like, that'd probably be a good thing to like talk about that's like kind of related. And plus we all like talking about like, I don't know, Flintstones and Jetsons and Scooby-Doo, like all the Lion
the modern
King.
cartoons that everyone watches today.
Well,
Yeah,
there is
Robin Hood and
The interesting thing is that like back in the day, Western animation was actually like ahead of the game.
Yeah.
And then they fell off. Yeah. So I feel like we got a meaty topic here a little bit.
It's like a rubber band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting too as well. Like the three of us are a little bit different ages. Like what shows did we watch as kids? Like for me, for example, like one of the big shows I remember when I was small, tiny child, Rugrats was a big,
I was scared of
big
Rugrats.
cartoon. Yeah. I mean, those early Nickelodeon cartoons, they kind of had a little bit of like a freakiness to them, didn't they?
They were kind of like not dark, but like creepy.
Yeah, like what was the other one? Rocko's Modern Life.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
That's Cartoon Network, Jay. That's
is it?
Nickelodeon? But the same idea, yeah.
But like, yeah,
they have
same era.
Like this like weird, like dark.
There's a weirdness to them for sure.
Yeah. Where when you're a little kid, it was like, oh, this is weird. Except for Doug. Doug wasn't creepy. Doug was pretty straight ahead.
Yeah.
Remember that episode where of Hey Arnold, where Arnold's grandpa punches Hitler in the face?
What?
What? that happened. Look it up.
I never watched Hey Arnold as a kid.
Yeah, Hey Arnold didn't do it for me.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of just going off on a Nickelodeon
You just wanted to bring
tangent.
up that thing.
That little nugget.
That little nugget.
Blurb,
you know what? I'll bring up a little nugget too. That's like not even remotely related to this. You know how like everyone always says like Disney, like the peak of Disney is back when they were doing like 2D animation, and they've kind of fallen off since.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's not even like arguable. Like that's just a fact, I would say. And they actually cannot go back to 2D animation because they actually like sold off all of their equipment and completely closed down all of their studios to like, they literally do not have the ability to do 2D animation.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like it's a shame. Yeah, because old Disney movies rock, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the newer like 2D animation ones, or like where they would kind of hybridize everything. Like you think of like Treasure Planet or something like that, like a Disney movie that was kind of forgotten by a lot of people.
Yeah,
and then Pixar happened, and nothing wrong with Pixar. Everybody likes a Pixar movie, but then Disney, I think, kind of like thought, okay, well, let's just be Pixar too.
Yeah,
even though they already own Pixar.
I think like Disney's entire personality became Pixar once Pixar became popular.
Yeah, they basically were like, oh, we can do that. Yeah, and then just like stop doing what made them Disney.
Which, I mean, to be fair, Lilo and Stitch was really good.
Yeah, but like there used to be a distinction, right? Like you had your 2D Disney movies, and then you had your 3D Disney Pixar movies. And now it's all just a big blurb. Like people think like, oh, Frozen, like a Pixar movie. No, Frozen wasn't a Pixar movie. That was a Disney Studios movie.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's just confusing.
Or like you look at D23 this year, like all the movies that were announced: Frozen 3, Incredibles 3.
What's D23?
Like
it's
Disney,
basically like E3 for Disney.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's why they don't go to like Comic-Con and stuff anymore, because Disney just has their own convention where all the fanboys go and scream and cry at trailers.
Interesting. Okay. I literally have never heard of this. It sounds like a place I don't want to go either. So that's okay. Yeah.
No,
anyway,
and I mean,
that's what Jay was saying.
Yeah, that's kind of related. Yeah. Like the whole concept of like creative bankruptcy in Hollywood. And
but like, it's like, it's that you're right. But like on top of that, like all of those movies that were like, that are getting sequels, they're all 3D animated, either like Pixar movies or like the odd Disney movie.
Yeah. And now that I'm like thinking about it a little more, I'm actually kind of getting a little like upset in my heart a little bit, because I'm thinking, and I'm like, when you think of Disney let's say like 2000, they had a clear identity. Like they did like Lion King, they did Snow White, all these classics, right?
Yeah.
And then you think of Disney post like the Pixar thing. All they do kind of now is just like take established things and just kind of like milk it, basically. Like they Star Wars, Marvel, right? Like they just take something that already exists and just milk the ever-loving juice out of it.
Like I'm of the opinion that like Disney went through its golden age like in the 90s. You know, they were releasing
with their best
movies.
Movie, Lion King.
They were I love the Lion King. They were releasing stuff like The Lion King, Mulan. Remember Mulan? Great movie.
Mulan, fantastic.
Even Lilo and Stitch moving into the 2000s. But at the same time, they were also releasing great Pixar movies. Toy Story, Bugs
Nemo.
Life, Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., WALL-E. Like, these were all distinct things that were happening. And now, when is WALL-E 2 coming out? Because I'm sure that's... Rather than them innovating and making up something new, it's all just...
Or it becomes
let's cash in the cash cow.
Like the Lion King live action movie. Which a lot of the time it feels like it didn't even need, like, oh, you want to remake it. The original Lion King's already there. You can just resell it. Just like upscale it to 4K and
that's why they
it.
had the vault. That's why they had the Disney vault, so that they could take stuff out of the Disney vault, create demand for it, and sell it. And then you put it back in the Disney vault. That's what
streaming,
the whole process
there is no
was.
vault anymore.
Yeah,
it's just available.
Gone.
Yeah,
no, now
gone.
we gotta
Vault's
make
cracked open, lost the key.
Now we got to make Lilo and Stitch live action, even though that movie came out 20 years ago.
Is that happening? Is
that
actually happening?
They showed off live action Stitch like a couple days ago at D23, and it looks. Look, a lot of people are going to say it looks cute. It's going to sell a ton of plushies, but he looks horrendous.
Here's what I'm at.
It just looks
a politician that's going around down south right now. Who's asking for this? Who's asking for any of this?
Well, they sell though. That's the thing.
They do sell.
We've discussed this a lot on the air, and like that's why they do it. That's what the argument comes down to. They do it because it sells. But it's just like, Apparently. Don't you guys? If you're in the creative business, don't you want to create something and like make some meaningful work? Like. When
the answer is no.
The thing is, at the same time, I guarantee a lot of focus groups that they've used to like test what to make and what to put out have responded to nostalgia and the classic Disney movies and have gone, how do we recapture that magic? I know, let's just re-release it.
How do we recapture that magic? I know. Let's bring Robert Downey Jr. back. Oh, sorry, I'm talking about the other Disney franchise.
Oh, right. Yeah, in case you haven't heard about that.
How do we recapture that magic? Let's bring Palpatine back. Oh, sorry, think about the other Disney franchise.
Somehow Palpatine is back. It's Disney.
By the way, I looked at live action Stitch. It's not that horrifying. It's not that good either.
It's not horrifying. Like, my thing with it is like, what's the point? Like he looks like the cartoon. Yeah. Basically.
Well, like he's CG, so what's the point of live action?
Yeah. No, it's goofy. It's goofy movie. Another 90s cartoon.
That was another good movie.
Oh, goofy movie. Yeah, what are some good ones? Let's talk some more good animation. Let's get off this little hateful tirade we've went on here.
Yeah. Well, I like when I was watching Panty and Stocking, I was reminded of like those late night cartoons.
Yeah.
When we were kids, kind of like the Rennie and Stimpy type of stuff as well.
Yeah, where they're kind of gross and like rude. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of gross stuff in this.
Yeah.
This show
and I feel like we just kind of don't get that anymore. The only one I could think of that's like a spiritual successor in Western animation would be like Rick and Morty is probably the closest.
Yeah. It doesn't have that like necessarily gross out humor in it though anymore. Rick and Morty, it's I don't know. I just don't get it. I just don't get Rick and Morty.
Yeah, you're not smart enough. You have to be really smart. To get
you kind of have to have a high IQ to understand the nuance of Rick and Morty.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't. No, like Rick and Morty and like all of the adult animation that's coming out right now. And I mean, everything owes allegiance to the granddaddy of them all, The Simpsons, despite what anyone else may think.
In terms of like raunchy cartoons, it was, I agree. It's like the first of the raunchy cartoons, I would say.
And just like the like onset of like adult sitcoms that were able to be produced as animated features. Well, you know what though? Let's go back a little bit further than that. You mentioned them, like the Flintstones, the Jetsons. Like those were essentially, they took that same formula that the Simpsons had and made those shows just earlier and for like a wider audience. Like I kind of think The Simpsons when it was made was kind of like a homage to like the
like
Flintstones
old Hanna-Barbera
like
stuff.
Yeah.
That, and also like I think stuff like All in the Family and those like classic
the
sitcom
honeymooners and stuff as well. But I mean, like the Flintstones kind of did that before anybody else did.
That's a good point. Yeah,
laugh tracks and stuff in the show, and like it was like a whole plot. It wasn't just like bits where like when you watch old Bugs Bunny stuff, it's just like
one
a
little
sketch
bit.
essentially.
Yeah. And I feel like Flintstones was like, specifically like honestly just all the Hanna-Barbera ones, I feel like they were a little more grown up than like Bugs Bunnies and stuff like that in the Looney Tunes, in like in the way that you're talking. Like Looney Tunes was kind of just like, oh, let's watch the Roadrunner get chased around by Wile E. Coyote. Ha ha ha. He gets hit by an anvil. Whereas like you said, like when you watch an episode of the Jetsons, it's kind of like there's a coherent plot to follow. There's lots of like well-written jokes in it and stuff. There's visual gags and also just other jokes. It's kind of a whole thing, really, right?
Yeah. I think the Looney Tunes stuff was though like they were all developed as shorts to like put on before movies kind of thing. So it was just a completely different market. And then like standard, everybody had TV in their house. So like, let's make the Flintstones. Let's make Scooby-Doo. Let's make.
Well, I mean, like stuff. if you keep going back, like it's considered the first, but it's not. Steamboat Willie was just like a 5-minute short that played at the beginning of things in the movie theater.
Yeah. Or I mean, all of the like World War II propaganda from the Looney Tunes.
I didn't want to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's out there. Like
it exists.
Yeah. And it's.
Well, I mean, Looney Tunes doesn't have. When you look back at pretty much anything from the olden days, there's some questionable stuff.
Well, I mean, even if you look at Penny and Stocking, there's a lot of stuff that is dated of the time.
I'm very curious how they're gonna. We'll talk about it more later because I think we should talk a little bit about the upcoming season 2. But I'm curious how they're gonna do that. Period.
Yeah. So like what was Jay, like I'm curious, what did you watch as a youth?
I was kind of like all over the board. Like I would watch like 60s Spider-Man, 90s Spider-Man because I was a huge Spider-Man guy.
You compare the two.
But like
take
I also
you would take notes, compare the two.
I didn't really like care about plot or anything. It was just like, oh, Spider-Man's on screen. He's cool. Yeah. Look at that guy.
Yep.
Sorry, there's a perfect encapsulation of that difference in plot structure from like the 60s where it was just like monster of the week, here's Spider-Man's fighting the Rhino this episode, and then the 90s one was like an ongoing
an ongoing narrative.
But sorry, go ahead. So Spider-Man,
and then like the one that pops out in my mind for Cartoon Network was I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
I remember it. I remember it on.
The name rings a bell.
Yeah. For those who aren't in the know, it was basically a show about a kid who, it's like a world where like imaginary friends are like real. Like when a kid imagines an imaginary friend, they become like a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the main character. Mac has an imaginary friend, Blue, and because he was getting older, his mom told him to get rid of his imaginary friend, so he sends him to Foster's, which is like a foster home for imaginary friends that aren't needed anymore because the kid has grown up, so they get a new home. But the thing is that like I guess
he goes and visits him.
He goes and visits
still have adventures.
His imaginary friend. Yeah. They still have adventures and all that.
Yeah.
And it was just like a fun, imaginative show with like a lot of creative character designs and interesting characters as well. Like, I think that show and that like era of Cartoon Network was probably like the last era of like creative depth, I guess.
Yeah. Like, what's Cartoon Network doing right now?
Didn't they just die? Didn't that just happen?
Yeah,
Didn't they
they're gone now.
Yeah. Like very recently. Didn't that just happen?
Mm-hmm. Like I think the website now links to HBO Max.
Yeah.
Like they did, or the last thing I remember them doing was like the Teen Titans reboot thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, and that always bugged me because it's like
original Teen Titans is so much better.
Bring back the original Teen Titans. It was good.
It was really
good show. I like that show.
That was another show I watched as a kid. And 2003 Ninja Turtles. I love that show too.
Yes, the 2003 Ninja Turtles.
Which is the best version of the Turtles. Fuck you, fight me.
I think the last time you guys talked about all this too, I think, Jay, you said that you were like scared of Rugrats as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of scary.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah, especially the theme song.
No. You're
Am I confusing things?
You're confusing me with the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's right. Yeah.
It scared me as a kid. Not anymore though. I've grown up. Now it's not scary.
Yeah.
I'm big man now. Not scared anymore.
I can beat up that song's dad.
Yeah, exactly.
My dad can be your dad.
Yeah, so Mike though, you are an enigma. I don't know what you watched as a child, as a little boy.
Well, I kind of alluded to it a little bit. I honestly watched a lot of like the old Hanna-Barbera stuff, like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, stuff like that. And then once I discovered like the Toonami block, I would say, stuff that's on there, like Dragon Ball Z, Inuyasha, all that. That's kind of where I lived. I did watch a lot of Recess as well, was my other go-to one, if anyone remembers that old show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember Recess being a big deal, but I never got into it that much, to be honest.
Like back in the day, but yeah, I never got into it either.
Okay. And then the other one that I really, really liked too was a little show called Kim Possible. That was a great show back in the day. Yeah. And there's actually a reference to Kim Possible in the show we just watched, I believe.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
There was a reference to Space Ghost Coast to Coast in this, which was wild.
The dub was kind of crazy in this one. The dub went crazy for references.
I'd imagine that this show had a pretty good dub.
Yeah, we'll get there. But yes, it's all related. That's why we're talking about this, right? Yeah.
Kim Possible, though, I remember it wasn't on Canadian TV. It wasn't on YTV and it wasn't on Teletoon.
It was on the Family Channel.
How did I watch it? It was
Oh, well, Family Channel wasn't standard cable because I wasn't able to watch it. It was on one of the American networks.
Somehow watched it. Yeah.
You had satellite. You had 300 channels. I had 30.
I had cable.
I had 30 channels as a child.
Is it a country thing? Because like I had cable as a kid.
Yeah,
and I could watch it.
Lots of people watch Kim Possible.
Yeah.
I think Nicole's saying it's not over the air. It wasn't like over the air, that channel.
Yeah, like it was. It was not available on the channels that I had. Is essentially what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was on Family or something like that. Yeah, and I remember when I got satellite and I was able to watch it. And I think I got to it too late. I think when I watched it, I'm like, this is pretty good, I guess, but it didn't hook me. I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot about this show. I'm scrolling through Adult Swim right now. Do you guys remember Dexter's Laboratory?
Oh yes, Dexter's Laboratory, Omelette de Fromage.
Yep.
That show slapped. Yeah, that was a really good one. What were some of those other ones around that time too? Dexter's Laboratory.
I always, for some reason, Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, and Powerpuff Girls feel like the trifecta of that era. That kind of really inspired Panty and Stocking, I feel.
That Cartoon Network, like late 90s. Yeah, and of course,
I also saw like a bit of Invader Zim in the show.
Yes, Invader Zim.
Yeah. Well, which, like, their dog is like...
Yeah, that literally just Invader Zim.
Yeah. Powerpuff Girls, though. I have a funny story about Powerpuff Girls.
I love funny stories.
I enjoy Powerpuff Girls. It was one of those shows at the time where it was like, no, guys, you don't tell your friends that you like Powerpuff Girls. That's for girls.
Yes.
Meanwhile, in hindsight, it's like, no, it's really not. It's a pretty...
I mean, at the same time, who cares?
Yeah,
I feel like
at the time you do. At the time you do.
Yeah, I feel like those shows, like when we were growing up, Cole, I feel like they were kind of the gateway to like the first bricks in the pillars of like toxic masculinity falling. Was watching Sailor Moon and Powerpuff Girls, and then not telling your bros about it, but being like, actually, they're kind of slap, man. They're kind of good.
Yeah. But Powerpuff Girls, we would watch Powerpuff Girls, and I would go to my dad's, and my dad liked Powerpuff Girls. He liked watching it. He thought it was really funny as well.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't a huge fan. He liked watching it with us. It was one of those shows where he'd get enjoyment out of it. Come around to, like, I don't know what it would have been, my 10th or 11th birthday. And my dad brings out my birthday cake, and it was Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls.
That's awesome.
And it was pretty funny. And yeah, it was a good cake. It was a good cake.
What was your favorite girl from the Powerpuff Girls?
Blossom at the time, but now like I kind of like all of them. They're all good. Buttercup's
Mojo
good.
Jojo.
Bubbles is good. Mojo Jojo. Who was the crab? The crab-handed guy.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I don't see him on the list of things
something.
here. I don't see. But I do see Professor Utonium as the professor. I didn't know that was his name, to be honest with you.
Professor Utonium. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
now, Jay, you have to answer.
Made a cameo in the show, Panty Stocking.
I saw
like a little, like, it was either like a doll or something, but like I was like, is that Blossom?
The cameos in this are, and like just references are just like insane. So it's totally possible. Cool. While Jay thinks of his next one, he's going to bring up. Cool thing about the Powerpuff Girls is they're kind of like in style right now. Like one of my favorite bands, New Jeans, is like just recently did like a whole thing where they like collabed with the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
like, yeah, and like their merch had like a bunch of they were all like stylized as Powerpuff Girls and stuff. It's pretty cool stuff.
The CW is going to make a live action show based on the Powerpuff Girls. Oh, sorry.
I think we lost Jalian.
I'm here.
Okay. We
Yeah,
didn't hear you.
cut
You
out
said
for
the
a sec.
CW something.
Yeah. The CW made a was going to make a live action adaptation of the Powerpuff Girls.
Don't know that I need that.
No.
No, the CW's adaptations of shows are not good.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't want you guys to get off the hook on this one though. I said who my favorite Powerpuff Girl was at the time.
I see.
Now you guys have to as well.
Blossom.
So Blossom. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll go
Interesting
Buttercup.
choice.
Why not?
round out the trifecta.
Yeah. They're all good, honestly. I think I like Bubbles a lot too.
Bubbles was good too.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Good times were had at the time, and now there are no good times. Only
bad
days.
times.
We're in the dark times. Yeah, that's why we watch anime. Brings us back. Brings us back to the joys.
No, are there any currently airing Western animations that draw your attention?
It's really funny because like I feel like we've gone kind of full circle with Western animation because like a lot of the good Western cartoons are very anime inspired.
Yes.
Like the one that came to mind when you were asking that question, Cole, was My Adventures with Superman.
Yeah.
Which is insanely anime inspired. Like the character designs, the modeling and everything just feels like it's a Western anime basically.
Yeah.
And then like you got things like Arcane, which I haven't watched, but I've heard nothing but incredible things about. And I feel like what happened is that anime kind of it just took the like Western view that cartoons are for kids. And like we've just kind of, it's slowly eroded that viewpoint to the point where now people are like, okay, we can make like adult animation and like, it's not just like slapstick stuff. And I feel like that's where we are now. And it's a good place to be.
It respects the intelligence of the viewer rather than treating someone like they don't think about what they're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, again, just kind of going off of what you both said, something like Invincible as well. very inspired
Yeah.
by anime storytelling.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not exactly modern, but Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I was going to
Yeah.
bring up Avatar, but then you said modern. So I was like, but I feel like Avatar is the big one. Probably one of the best Western animations,
I mean, like,
I would
people
say.
consider it an anime, right? Like,
it gets included in those lists all the
depends
time.
who you ask. Some people will say it is, some people will say it isn't. So
Yeah.
The interesting thing is I think in Japan, like Despicable Me is considered an anime. So
Well,
it's really, it's
the
in the eye
word-
of the beholder.
the word
Yeah.
anime literally means like animation.
Yes.
It's just
So-
gatekeepers.
It's all
just
gatekeepers. Yeah.
Yeah. But we know.
Yeah.
We know
We do
the
know.
truth. We're not going
Yeah.
to tell you though.
Avatar.
tell you the
Incredible.
Yeah, it's locked
Watch
in the
Avatar.
Disney vault.
Yeah. Don't watch the live action Avatar though. Don't watch the live action.
Which one? There's two of them.
Yeah, there are two. of them.
Either is the answer.
Which one's
Well,
better?
no, go. I think the more recent one is
Probably the more
better.
recent one. Yeah.
But hear me out. I would say go watch The Last Airbender from M. Night Shyamalan, because at least it's funny in how bad it is.
Okay.
I'm honestly a little bit
Did you watch
interested in that new
Should
movie
we
that he
should?
made.
Oh yeah, no, I am too. What's it called? Like Trap?
Trap, I
Trap?
think. Yeah, yeah.
It's just called Trap. Yeah, I don't know. M. Night Shyamalan. He's been giving us hope these last years, and he
It's
never
weird
delivers on them.
because sometimes he has like really really good ones, and then other times we'll get like, what was that one? Was that one with Will Smith and his son by M. Night Shyamalan? After Earth, I think it was called.
Oh no! Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, he did direct it. Yeah, with Will Smith and
Jaden
whatever his
Smith.
son's name is, Jaden Smith. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Shyamalan.
Yeah. I forgot that was Shyamalan. I don't know if he wrote that one though. I know I think he just directed it.
He did. No, I'm actually curious. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I'm looking.
But the hints were there. I
He
mean,
did
one
do
of
After Earth. You're right.
my favorite Shyamalan movie is Signs, and even now when I watch it, I think, yeah, this is a pretty flawed movie. Love it. I love it, but it's pretty not great when you sit down and break it down. But
Screenplay by M. Night Shyamalan and Gary Whitta. Whitta?
I blame Witta. I blame him.
Mm-hmm.
I blame him for that.
I don't know. Shyamalan's kind of overrated, to be honest with you. I think what
No,
Cole was alluding to. Yeah.
I don't think that's a very hot take.
Yeah.
What do you guys say we jump into the mailbag though?
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, let's do it.
It's time for the mailbag.
Yeah, it's mailbag time. If you've got a mailbag question, you can send it to us over on our website or at our Discord. By the way, the website is AniProPod.com/mailbag. Did that in the wrong order, but I got all the information out anyway. It's all good.
That's all that matters.
This one comes to us from Discord. It is from Mogmog. So this would qualify as a patron priority mailbag. Wee woo, wee woo. They would like to know what is our least favorite thing about a favorite show. So it doesn't have to be necessarily your favorite show, but you recognize that perhaps one of your favorite shows has a flaw in it. I will go first because I am...
Cole, you can't say nothing.
No. I'm actually gonna comment on my favorite show.
Okay.
Okay.
March Comes In Like a Lion. I'm not blind to its flaws, but I'm not gonna say it's boring because that's lazy and wrong.
You're lazy and wrong.
You're lazy and wrong, yeah.
What I am gonna say though is sometimes it gets a little too caught up in like the side characters, and I just don't care about them. I just don't care about the side characters. I wanna know what's
Unless they're
happening
named
with Ray.
Hina.
Wow, Cole must hate this
Hina's
show.
a main character.
Oh,
She's not a side character.
Wow,
I
I
would've
can't
called
believe Cole's
just Ray.
bashing this show. It must be terrible.
Unless it's to do with Ray or the Kawamoto. Is that their name? Kawamoto sisters? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If we're doing a side thing, that's okay. Just do it quick. But like we'll go like 2 episodes about some old man's shogi match, and I don't care. I don't care about him. Let him retire. Retire, old man.
I feel like shows like March Comes In Like a Lion and other shows that are like 50 episodes long, Death Note, stuff like that. I feel like what happens is they have so many good moments that you kind of like look back on them more fondly than when you actually watch them, because you forget about like Code Geass, for example. You forget about all the random BS that happens in Code Geass that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And you just remember all the awesome stuff.
At the same time, when you like something, you're just kind of blind to its faults altogether.
You look at them maybe differently, I'd say.
Okay, maybe I should reword that. When you watch something for the first time and you're super into it, sometimes you'll be like, you won't even care about it anymore. You
flaws.
Yeah.
Then when you come back and watch it with a bit more of a sober head, then you kind of can see them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I agree.
It's all we're all in agreement on this one.
Yeah. It's the worst state of the podcast when we all agree on something.
Yeah. The world just explodes when that happens.
Here's another one you guys will both agree with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I love Gundam. Gundam. And Gundam is the original Gundam hard to recommend because it is ancient. It is ancient. And it's so, even for the time, it's not done very well. And when you put that in perspective of modern anime, it is so hard to be like, hey, Guardian-sama, you should go watch the original Mobile Suit Gundam so you understand the 50 years of Gundam that happened after it.
Yeah. You know what?
And then he's like, how do I watch that? Oh, I know. It's the original 40 episode TV series that was canceled in the end.
Yeah.
And just done.
You know what though, Mike?
We need a remake.
Witch from Mercury does a very good job of getting someone into Gundam who like isn't into it.
Yeah.
With also paying homage to like what's come before.
That's what the side series are all about.
Did that too. Yeah. The thing with that, like Gundam was like a pretty low budget anime even at the time. Like you watch something like Macross, they're both comparable, like they're both mech anime, they were both released around the same time, and like Macross is like animation wise leap years ahead of Gundam.
You're right. Because even for the time, Gundam looks bad. So when you compare that to like something from now, and then you tell them to go watch a 1960s like, or is it 70s? Oh yeah, no,
it's 70s.
0079. The years are usually the year the thing came out. 1979.
Star Wars.
Tough recommend.
Star Wars basically inspired Gundam.
Pretty well. Yeah, that's space opera type stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yes, let's get like a, you know, like how they're redoing One Piece. Let's get the One Piece of Gundam where they just tighten it up, tell the story a little nicer. They kind of did it with the origin of the Red Comet or advent of the Red Comet or whatever, but it doesn't. But those were only, it doesn't cover the stuff that happens after. It doesn't get far enough, you know.
Yeah, and it would be huge. People would go and see 100%. That. Even remake it as like remake the 3 movies that they condensed the series down into. I think that would work too.
I agree.
Jay, it's your turn to air your grievances about your favorite show.
So okay, I'm gonna look at all my favorite shows as a whole a little bit, because I feel like a lot of the shows I love kind of fall into this category, and that's accessibility.
Okay.
I'll go with my favorite show, Bunny Girl Senpai. Why can't I watch those movies easily? Why do I have to like fly over to Japan to be able to watch it, or like have to sail the 7 seas so I can watch vital story bits before season 2 comes out? Or like Kino's Journey, the anime's done, but there's still more story, but the light novel's not localized, so I can't keep going. Why is that a thing? Why can't I just like why can't I just keep reading it? Or like Monogatari. A lot of the show isn't readily available anywhere for North America. Why is that the case? I want to be able to show my friends Monogatari, but I can't get them to watch the whole thing because it's not all readily available.
I want to show them the toothbrush scene.
Yeah. Everyone should watch the
available.
scene.
No. That's like required viewing for an anime fan.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. That's
is.
the answer for required viewing for anime fans.
That's the answer for something everyone needs to watch. The toothbrush scene from
the test for anime fandom from going forward will be if you can watch the toothbrush scene and not be like put off at all. Like you're just like, oh, this is just anime. This is what happens.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes.
If you know you're desensitized if you can just watch the toothbrush scene, just like straight
and not
face
bat an
it.
eye. Yeah.
Now, if your reaction, if your only reaction, the only correct reaction to the toothbrush scene is laughter because it's so over the top.
And the funny thing about that scene is like you think it's done and it keeps going.
It keeps going, and the reaction shots, like, oh my god, it's so funny, so funny. Let us know in the comments below what your least favorite thing about a favorite show of yours is. And we will read them in the comments.
Yeah.
Trust us. We will read them. That's what we do.
We do. Yeah.
We do.
We read everything. But I think what we'll do at this point is we'll take a quick little breaky poo for me. And then we'll come back and we'll review Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. Now with Garterbelt. Let's do that. So let's go to break.
Pitiful shadow lost in the darkness. Oh, evil spirit born of those drifting between heaven and earth. May the thunderous power from the garments of these holy, delicate maidens strike down upon you with great vengeance and furious anger, shattering your loathsome impurity and returning to you from whence you came. Repent, you motherfucker!
Oh, that was the dub.
That was the
dub version. That was the dub version. That was the dub.
Now you got to do it in Japanese.
Okay, Jay, you're the Japanese weeaboo. You must do it in Japanese now.
I don't have the text in front of me. I can't.
Mother.
Yeah.
Welcome back. We had Mike do an old-fashioned reintroduction.
It's been a while since we did a cringe reintro. I like it.
We're gonna get
that's the
review
secret.
That says
that's my secret cap. I'm always cringe.
I'm always cringe. Yeah. You just have to embrace the cringe and live in it.
Yeah. No, don't kill the cringe within yourself. Kill the part of you that thinks it's cringe.
Believe in the cringe
that believes in you.
In me that believes in the cringe in you, Cole.
Yeah. Gainax.
Become
Gainax
the
quote.
cringe.
How appropriate that you quote another Gainax show, and now we're reviewing a Gainax show, and this is a Gainax show, and I always thought it was a Trigger show, but it turns out it's a Gainax show, and that was a welcome surprise.
Well, that was Gainax before Trigger was established.
This show was the last show that the staff that founded Trigger worked on before they founded Trigger, and you can really see it. You can really see it,
Mike. 'Tis tradition, 'tis a traditional duty of the person who has selected the anime to introduce this anime to our lovely listeners.
It's correct. And
what is this show?
I selected this one on a whim because I knew none of us had watched it. I frankly didn't know much about it other than I just thought, oh, it's like a Trigger show that I hadn't watched. Just like Cole, did not know this is not a Trigger show. This is like the final worthwhile Gainax show of watching. Came out 2010. The dub came out 2 years later. We've alluded to it's from Studio Gainax. It's the studio that did Evangelion, Gurren Lagann. There's other things I'm forgetting, I'm sure. But it is a classic anime, and I wanted us to watch it. And it is a wild ride. And don't fear not, listener, because there's really nothing to spoil here except for maybe the very, very post-credits scene at the very end of the show.
The last 2 minutes of the show was maybe a spoiler, I guess.
But it's a Gainax ending, so it's so nonsensical that I'm sure it doesn't matter.
It also doesn't make sense if you think about it for longer than 5 minutes.
Well, it doesn't.
It's like I said, it's a Gainax ending, so it almost doesn't even make. Yeah,
it's the classic rule of everything is retconned at the end of the episode. It's the we will never discuss what happened here today under penalty of death.
Yes. So essentially what the show is about is there's these two angels, Panty and Stalking. Their last names are Anarchy because, it's edgy. One is like a sex-crazed nympho, and the other one is a sweet-crazed sweet-aholic.
Well, I don't know. She's kind of, what's the word?
She's a gothic Lolita type.
Masochist.
The other one's more of like she's a what?
She's a masochist. She likes being tied up and stuff too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're both quite... up on that. They're both quite vulgar, yes. And they're kind of fallen angels that get kicked out of heaven for being, well, I mean, we just outlined what they are.
Not angel-like.
And not angelic. Yeah, good way to put it, Jay. They team up with this priest guy, Garterbelt.
It's kind of revealed later on that there's more to him too. It's kind of weird.
This is a very weird show if you couldn't figure it out. And they basically fight ghosts using, one is able to turn her panties into a gun. That's her holy weapon.
Yes.
And the other one is able to turn her stockings into
swords.
Katanas.
Yeah.
Swords. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's
as you do.
Hey, yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You can't do
normal.
that?
No, it's totally normal. It's totally normal.
That's how I operate my day. I can turn my stockings into swords.
Yeah.
In fact, let me show you. No.
Please do. I want to see those. Yeah, take off those stockings for me, Jay.
It'd be some big swords.
In true Gainax faction, though, and spiritual predecessor to Trigger, this is a mostly nonsensical show. It's really in the spirit of early 2000s animation where it was kind of vulgar. That's why we were talking about in the first half a little bit. Kind of just so zany and off the wall that it just is its own thing. And I'm really, really excited to talk about it because I feel like this is the type of review I really like when there's just so much to talk about. Even if it's maybe not the perfect show, I feel like that's the perfect review, is when it's just a lot to talk about.
Well, then maybe it is the perfect show, Mike.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Well, gentlemen, I would like to start this review by asking you both, how long did it take you to watch this show? How long was the binge for you, Michael?
Oh, that makes me think, when the hell did I start watching this? Because I've learned a lesson here today, boys. And that is, as a new father, time is not something I freely control anymore. That was nicely done, Cole. I started this one, I think maybe on Monday, and I finished it literally, we were supposed to record at 3 and I finished it at 2:55. So, and that is purely because just things kept coming up that I had to attend to, or just other, it's summertime. It's a busy time. Yeah. What about you guys? When did you start and finish this one?
Jay,
how fast did you go ahead?
So I started this on Friday evening, and I finished it Saturday technically today at 4 a.m.
Okay. Not terrible then.
Yeah.
And for me, I started it yesterday, and by starting it yesterday, I mean I watched one episode and then a half episode yesterday. One episode before the bachelor party, one episode, I guess, in the middle of the bachelor party.
It's kind of awkward. Yeah, a little weird.
Yeah.
Segue.
And then, and then I woke up this morning and watched the rest of it. Easy binge.
I was just going to say, did you guys feel it was an easy binge? Because I definitely did not.
No.
No? Oh,
yes,
we got him. We made Jay uncomfortable.
No, I found it easy, just the way how the episodes were essentially 2 episodes in one, 2 15-minute episodes in one episode. So I found it really easy to just kind of go through. It was a fast-paced ride for me.
Yes.
Jay did not feel that way.
I did not. So I watched this show in the 2 days that I had, because that was the only time I had to watch it, I probably would have spread it out much thinner.
Yeah, I feel like it works well both ways. I feel like you could either watch it in piecemeal or
It's just like, because of the episodic nature of the show, it wasn't like Shadow's House where like I kept getting engrossed in the plot and wanting to see what happens next.
Yes.
Yeah. It was more it was
very easy to stop.
This was their
watching.
adventure for the day, and I'll tune in next time.
For me, like, it felt like I was kind of like, you know, when you were a kid and it was like, this Saturday is like a 6-hour SpongeBob marathon. It felt like that for me when I was watching it.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I could just like kick back, put my feet up, just.
I was actually a little cognizant of that this morning when we're recording on Sunday, and I put on like the last couple episodes today, and I was like, this is kind of cool. It's like I'm watching like a Saturday morning cartoon a little bit. It really did give that vibe a lot.
Yeah.
Especially
so let's get started here on the review proper, gentlemen. Let us get into it. And we're in the review. Let's start with characters. Let's discuss our characters, our titular Panty and stalking with Garterbelt. So yeah, as Mike said, Panty Anarchy. We'll start with her. She's the blonde one for you, those of you keeping track of hair color. There's
one person in the audience just like writing notes like Panty equals blonde.
Yes, blonde. Nympho.
She is a nympho. She loves having sexual relations with individuals of the opposite sex.
There is a plot point in this show where she tries to have sex with her 1000th person for context.
She's a lot of fun though. She's your classic like spunky, tomboyish girl. I like both of them. Panty's a lot of fun though. She's, and her outfits, she's always got different outfits on, which I appreciate in an anime as well. What did you think of Panty, the first Anarchy sister, Mike?
I liked her. I liked that she said the F word 250 plus times in this one. Someone did count, and it's over 250. I liked her whole vibe. She's pretty funny. I feel like in the early episodes when I wasn't ready for how vulgar and how like obscene the show was, though, I feel like she took me off guard because she's just so raunchy.
Yeah.
That when I wasn't expecting it, I was like, oh, well, I was like, it was like clutching my pearls, and like, it was like I got sucker punched with just how vulgar she is. But as soon as I knew it was up, it warmed up to me a bit.
Yeah. Once you realize it's part of the joke is how vulgar and sex crazed she is. Cause I think like the first scene in this is her waking up with some dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which
is, you dive right into it. Jay, did you dive right into Panty?
Into her panties?
Yeah. What did you think of Panty as a character?
Tell me about your Panty thoughts.
So, I guess I'll have to be the guy, the contrarian. I wasn't a fan of Panty.
Okay, that's fine.
She was kind of annoying. We'll get more closer to the end. I got to appreciate her a bit more. Yeah. Like episode 12, episode 13.
Yeah, because she kind of has like a bit of a
because she has a bit of an arc.
Yeah.
But like in the episodic stuff, just like she was a bit overshadowed for me.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
Interesting.
To me, she kind of felt like the main. She felt like the A, whereas I feel like stalking felt like the B. Personally.
I kind of feel that too. Yeah, especially like with the ending, like the last few episodes where like she is clearly the main character. And I on the one hand, but like there's also the episode where like stalking takes the lead with the sweets and the
for sure,
the stuff
there's
like
that
that.
Episode where she falls in love with that ghost.
That ghost, yeah.
Yes, yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I see why it's Panty and stalking and not stalking and Panty, other than stalking and Panty sounding terrible.
Yeah. Well, she is the older sister as well.
Yes.
I don't know if they're supposed to be twins or Or what?
I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
think they know either.
I don't think it matters. I don't think
think it
anyone
matters.
cares. You don't need to care. There's no continuity here.
That is
trying
not
to keep
the point.
track. I'm trying to keep track. Well, yeah. So that's Panty. Now let's discuss her younger sister, Stalking, who is, her vices are more of the sweets variety. She's always eating cakes and drinking sweet teas.
Whereas where Panty may fall under the sin of lust, Stalking is more falling under the sin of gluttony.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Well put, Jay. Well put. But of course she does not share Panty's obsession with sex, even though she does display some masochistic. Yes, thank you. Tendency such as bondage, vor, and electrocution.
Oh,
She's
okay.
also very vulgar in her dialect.
Yes,
in her
right
own
as
way.
well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, she's vulgar in a different way than Panty is.
Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't have that like spunky attitude. She's kind of more like sarcastic.
Sarcastic and sassy. Yeah.
Sarcastic.
Yeah.
What is wrong with me? Sarcastic.
I don't know.
Yeah. I vibed, I think, more with Stalking. I like Stalking. She was kind of, I like that sarcastic humor more than like calling people out. She would kind of just like make offhanded comments about people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, what did you think of the stripy socked lead?
Blue-haired,
Goth.
deuteragonist, I guess. I liked her a lot too. I think she, again, I think I connected with her a little more, as you would say, because she's like that kind of sarcastic. I feel like she's more of like the character you'd resonate with as an adult, maybe. She's a little chiller than Panty, because Panty is like 100% all the time, whereas Stalking is kind of just like, I'm just gonna lay here and eat some sweets sort of thing a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Panty's like very selfish, and Stalking is always like they have like a very sibling bond as well. Like they're always fighting.
Dynamic, yeah.
They really do feel like siblings, and that's kind of cool too. I'm curious though if Jay found her as annoying as Panty.
No, I prefer. I said that Panty was overshadowed, and she was overshadowed by Stalking. I think Stalking was just the much more interesting and fun character of the two. The dynamic aspect I'd probably compare to like Pop Team Epic a little bit.
I kept thinking of that a lot, actually.
It was probably inspired that, I'm sure.
Maybe
indirectly.
Yeah. But like, yeah, Panty, just like she has like a bit more innocence to her in terms of like her personality, and that kind of is exemplified later on in the series. As the both of you and those who have seen the show might know. And I vibed with that more.
As the innocent one on the podcast, yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
And of course, our third titular character, Garterbelt, who is, for those keeping track, he has black hair and an afro. Yeah. He's the priest, and he has some. We alluded to maybe some aged humor.
Yeah.
And with him, some of the jokes surrounding his like sexuality, I guess, are kind of like aged poorly. Aged poorly a little bit. But I mean, it's a product of the time, so take that with a grain of salt. But he's
came out in 2010. Yeah,
he's a fun character in his own right as well, though. He's just like very serious, but like about weird things.
He felt to me like he felt like a kind of a Samuel L. Jackson inspired character, where he's just like yelling angrily all the time, but like kind of obviously way more comedic, obviously.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Samuel L. Jackson is a very apt description of Garterbelt.
Yeah. Except he's I can just picture Garterbelt yelling, "I'm tired of these mother effing snakes on this mother effing plane."
Yeah.
It would make sense. Yeah.
He's very like blaxploitation. Oh my god.
Blaxploitation.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Those 70s like low budget films.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the fro
Cole
and
forgot
everything.
to do his vocal warm-ups today.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, I need more than a few vocal warm-ups, I think. Yeah, and he's kind of got like this like alter ego as well that gets introduced through the show too.
His backstory episode caught me very off guard, I'll be honest. Be honest with you. I was like, I did not expect any of that to happen.
Yeah.
Does it any of it matter? No.
No,
But,
not really.
yeah,
kind of
not
at
really.
the end,
Kinda,
though, a little bit
but-
with "Oh
Kind
my
of.
God" and "God my oh."
Yeah.
Did they do that in the dub? Where he just said, "Oh my God," when one thing happens, and then when it reverses, he goes, "God my oh."
I didn't catch it if it did.
No, okay.
Yeah.
I'll explain
That
that
thing
a
you're
little bit.
alluding to, though, Cole, when they did that, like, I think, like, that was the funniest part of the show.
Oh, yes, they did. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
Well, those bits are like the funniest part of the show in general.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think those got the laugh out of me every time, even though I knew it was happening. It would happen twice an episode. It would still get me every time.
Every time.
Yeah, no, Garterbelt's pretty good. He's definitely the
Number
he's
3.
listed as a main character, but he's for sure like a support. I think
Yeah.
He's the
more
straight
as-
man. He's the straight guy. Like he's
Yeah.
well, I mean, he's literally not straight, but
Yeah.
he's like the
That's
serious
the joke,
guy.
Mike.
Yeah, he's a serious guy
That's
to go
the
against them.
joke.
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
get it? They're the thing, but then they aren't that thing that they appear to be.
Yeah.
That's the point.
2000
It's funny.
2010 called. Yeah, and then there's some fun side characters. There's Briefs. He's fun.
Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
him.
Yeah,
Chuck
what do they call
the
him?
dog. Like what's his
Briefs
full
is-
name?
No, what do they call him in the? Because you guys, I think, watched this one sub. What
Oh,
was
Geek
his?
Boy.
Geek boy.
Okay, Geek Boy. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
they call him.
but it was in English. She
Yeah.
said Geek
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. Geek boy.
Chuck the dog.
Mhm.
He's
Invader
a
Zim.
dog. Yeah, Invader Zim essentially. I like the two the demon the
demon
opposites
sisters?
of the
Yeah.
opposites of Panty and
Like
Stocking.
their foils.
Yeah, Scanty
Knee
and
socks and
knee
Scanty.
socks. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were fun too. Like I thought when they get foiled in the first episode where they're introduced and they're like, "We'll call this a tie." I'm like, that is so like Team Rocket. Like you guys lost. It's
Yeah,
not a tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, just classic Saturday morning
Very Saturday
cartoon
morning
villains.
Just
yeah.
like
I thought it was-
straight up.
It was funny too when they were like, I think it might have been in the first time when they fought Panty and Stocking. They literally were like, you're an angel. We're the demons. You're supposed to be doing the bad thing. And they're like, we don't care. And it's just,
Get it?
Yeah.
Because they're the thing and they're supposed to look like a certain thing, but they're the complete opposite.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
funny,
subverting your
Jay.
expectations is funny or something, Jay. Yeah.
That's a funny thing when that
it's a
happens.
funny bit. Yeah.
Okay. Here's the big thing though. Best
Okay.
boy, best girl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, Michael, best boy right now.
I'm assuming
tell me.
Chuck is in the best boy category. Yeah, the little demon
Yeah.
in his head. Yeah,
Sure,
okay,
yeah.
Garterbelt, easy. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
Garterbelt. Yeah, he's hilarious.
Garterbelt is pretty good.
Yeah.
Jay, what say you?
Best boy, Briefs, I'd say.
I
Yeah.
would
And
I would
Cole?
echo Jay's sentiment. I like
Oh,
Briefs.
okay.
I thought it was funny how he's pretty nice to everybody, but they just
Mhm.
treat him like garbage all
Like
the
dirt.
time.
They're
Yeah.
so mean to
Yeah.
Briefs. They literally don't say his actual name until the end
At
of
the end,
last
yeah, at the
episode.
At the
end.
very
Yeah.
end of the show, yeah.
I like that. That was like a subtle character growth thing where Panty was
Yeah.
actually calling him Briefs after
Instead of
they
Geek
had
Boy.
after they had their moment. Shout out to Femitron and Maximilus Surprise.
Yes.
those two were pretty good.
Oh, that is not that was not the dub name for it was Coctimus Prime in the dub.
That's pretty good too, though.
Which
That's
is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now the important question: who's your best girl, Mike?
Best girl. I'm gonna go. I think I think I'm gonna go with stalking. I think I wanted to go with Panty just because I think you guys are gonna both go with stalking as well. And I just I kind of vibe with her more.
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that. Stalking, just I've said it already, is better.
Yeah, I've already basically said who mine was. Stalking, I just vibe with her more. I think her sense of humor was funnier. And again, like I like Panty as well, but Stalking was just a funnier character to me.
Yeah, I think for me, kind of like Jay alluded to, I think Panty was a little too vulgar and a little too over the top that it kind of just
she's kind of one note too. Like her only jokes are like about sex, where like Stalking is like about sweets,
a little wittier.
And then like she'd be like getting electrocuted in that like courtroom, and she was like more. It was just like unexpected stuff like that would happen with her. Where Panty, it was like, okay, I know what the joke is going to be. She's going to go have sex with somebody.
She was given, I don't want to harp on Panty too much because she was given more character development, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I guess.
Yeah, you can't go recency bias too. Like, it really was only for the last couple episodes where she had that character development.
Yeah.
Which hopefully carries over to this next season that's coming up. But we will see, because they haven't even announced when it's coming. It's just in the future at some point. Let's talk about production, the production values of the show, which I thought were surprisingly well done. You see the animation of it, and you're like, it's pretty rough. Like, this was like in Gainax's Death Throes, but I thought like the camera work and everything, like it was very dynamic. Things were moving around all the time. Obviously CG, but it didn't really stand out because of the art style that they went for. Yeah,
the art style works really well for this. Yeah.
And it was even the art style was very dynamic. Like one of the bits in the show is like the girls would all of a sudden look very like
anime.
Yeah, completely like different character designs. And there was one episode that was like in a completely different art style to the rest of them. And then when they come in, they're like in their like chibi type art.
It's funny because like you expected, because they kind of like teased you. They had you hear their voice before you saw them. And you're like, oh, are you going to see like them like in this like realistic art style? And it's like, no, incorrect.
Yeah, they're here in this realistic like area. Like think Monster or like A Perfect Blue or something like that.
Yeah.
But then they're there and they're like chibiness.
I thought like it was gonna go in a direction where like Panty and Stalking is a show in like a meta show in this world. And then like no, they just appear and I was like, oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. It's just a clever thing. But yeah, I thought the cinematography in the show was very, very well done.
Lots of dynamic camera stuff, which is like kind of surprising for an older show.
Yeah. Swirling around the buildings and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay? I think like on a pure technical level, like it's a well storyboarded, well animated show, with good compositing, pretty good CG. You harped on the animation, but like I didn't hate it.
Oh no, I'm not harping on the animation at all. I think the animation is good. I really like the animation.
It's really good. Yeah.
And like there was some really good action sakuga in here. Yes. Like on a technical level, this is very, very well done.
Yeah. I was expecting the animation to be poor based on this being like Gainax's Death Throes. They were in their final days, and like just the image of the characters look like, say what you will, they look like the Powerpuff Girls, and the Powerpuff Girls animation wasn't anything to write home about.
Yeah.
It's more stylistic, where this is kind of best of both worlds. You get great animation and very good stylized.
At the same time, like their designs are so simple that it's very easy to like move that around. Whereas if they had like complex designs, it would be much more difficult to like stay on model and look good or whatever have you. So
this is the staff of Studio Trigger we're talking about, and they do not give a crap about staying on model, which is one thing I appreciate about them.
Well, and it lends itself to being able to use the CG well, because everything is very like geometric, like squares and like perfect circles. There's not really any like weird shapes. So when you render stuff in CG with those, it blends very well.
I feel like they did a good job of reusing stuff as well without making it get boring. Like the transformation sequence where they basically turn their panties or their stockings into weapons. They riffed on it enough times to kind of like make it more interesting that I felt. Like I feel like I was never watching it and I was like, oh, here's just the shot of the zoom in on the city again, or here's the shot of them transforming again. It was kind of like each time they did it, it was different enough or interesting enough or that you didn't zone out, I felt. I don't know, do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, like they would edit the transformation sequences in a way where they felt like, I don't want to say fresh because obviously they were reusing footage, but they would edit it in a way where like they would use different parts of the original sequence. Yeah. Rather than just like when you watch Sailor Moon way back in the day, it'd be like, all right, here's the 2-minute segment of Sailor Moon transforming.
You've seen this exact thing.
We're killing 2 minutes here with this, where it didn't feel like it. Like often there was no transformation sequence. They just had their guns, gun and their swords, and that was it. Yeah.
And there was that one too that I think you alluded to off air too, where they like midway through the show, they do the transformation and they're like they get like lazy with it midway through.
Yeah. Yeah. They kind of just start their speech and then they kind of just trail off and
then they're just transformed. Yeah.
The humor in the show is pretty meta. I like it.
Very meta. Yeah.
So I would give props fully to the animation, the direction. This is a very visually engaging show, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I think
it's also I'd also say it was well complemented by the music.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a whole on music video in this show.
There is, yeah.
One episode is literally just a music video.
That was surprising. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, it was an insert song that they kind of like use over. They've used it multiple times in the show, and then all of a sudden, at one point, they were like, "Let's do a music video and tell you what the lyrics are and everything."
Let's just do the whole song as a music video, and like let's tribute it to like all these different like classic rock artists, and the whole thing was called like "Help, I'm Panty and Stocking" or something. To the Beatles. Yeah,
it was. The music in this is good too. It really, the dynamic you get out of this show is like, hold on, because this one's a ride, and like that's from top to bottom kind of thing.
Yes,
like the song that comes to mind for me is like the transformation song that you get like every time they transform. Reminded me very much of like Persona music.
Yeah, I could see
like
that.
Persona 4 or like maybe like kind of Persona 3-ish.
Yeah, and it's iconic enough that like even when you just say that, I can hear it playing in my head.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that too. What about the voice acting? So this is very important, Michael. Sub or dub?
I watched this one dub, and personally, I think you're doing yourself a disservice watching it in sub. But let's discuss that more.
Okay. I watched one episode in dub, and the dub was good. But I went back to the sub because I always found it funny when they would swear in English with their accents, and I just it was delightful to hear them say. It was just too
endearing to you. Makes sense.
Yeah, it was.
I feel like this show has funny nuances in both versions of the show.
I would agree. Like,
the sub, for reasons Cole was talking about, like just enjoying the Japanese pronunciations of English. Whereas like the dub kind of adds to the Saturday night or Saturday morning cartoon feel, or like Adult Swim cartoon feel, I guess.
Yeah.
It feels more like an Adult Swim show than like a Cartoon Network show.
When I watched this in the sub, I felt like it just lacked that like life that the dub has. It just felt a little drier, a little more sterile, and I just felt like the choice to make the dub script so over the top and zany made it, just kind of brought it to life in that Saturday morning cartoon type of vibe as well. So for me, and the fact that there's so many little like references in it that are not included in the sub as well. I felt like that was something that you're missing as well.
Yeah. The dub was, they were able to kind of go off script quite a bit, which was nice too. But I like the charm of the sub personally.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a wrong answer with this one. I will say, having seen both of them,
dub personally, but yes.
Okay, well, I was being
you're missing out
diplomatic.
on lines like during the volleyball scene where they're like, "You're not going to get that on ESPN" and stuff like that. I don't know. It's funny little
hilarious.
Clips. Yeah.
We just heard it. We didn't need to watch it. Mike just gave it to us.
All right. See you guys later.
Let's discuss the weak point of this show, the OP.
If that's the weak point, that's a pretty good weak point. Yeah.
I skipped the OP every time. I do.
It was like 30 seconds.
Yeah, super short.
Very short. Again, very much felt like a Saturday morning cartoon. It was like 40 seconds long.
Yeah.
But I skipped it every time because
I skipped the ED because I didn't I didn't care about the ED.
Yeah.
But like the OP I was fine with cuz like again, it was 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And like it just like it fit the show.
Yeah. Frankly, I didn't mind the song either, even though it's literally just saying panty stocking, panty stocking. I don't know. I found it's short enough. It did the job. I didn't really care for either of them personally.
Oh, man.
But I could tell Cole's making all his upset faces he makes when someone disagrees with his opinion. So tell us why you love the ED, Cole.
The song is like an actual bop. It's so good. It's got this like 80s vibe type thing going on. I mean, the visuals of it. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Don't have to agree on the visuals of it. It's pretty lackluster visually.
It's just like kind of their chibi heads moving around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the ED felt to me like the ED of Space Patrol Luluco. And I love the ED of Space Patrol Luluco.
That's kind of the vibe I got from the whole show, was like it kind of feels like a little bit like a precursor to Space Patrol Luluco.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they did a lot of homages to Gainax's previous works. And I mean, the whole thing's basically a bunch of homages, right? But like, there's a lot of references to like Gurren Lagann and Evangelion and stuff in here as well.
Yeah. Well, we have come to our first disagreement, which would be the OP and ED.
Yes.
Plot. Let us discuss this intricately woven, intricately paced plot here. There isn't one. This one is pure.
There's more of a premise than a plot. Like they need to get these coins to be able to go back to heaven. Is basically the premise. And
they do that by killing ghosts.
Yeah.
And the ghosts don't really make a ton of sense a lot of the time.
Or matter.
And really you're watching this to watch basically them be zany and crazy.
Yeah. And for me, that's what lost me, because like a lot of it feels very Imaishi and Trigger. And I famously go on record saying I don't like Trigger, and it didn't do it for me this time. So
I'm curious why you like. I feel like this is so similar to Pop Team Epic that I'm surprised you didn't also enjoy this.
Yeah, I don't know.
In terms of the plot,
it just feels like a bit too like in terms of how it works and how it and like how it flows. It just feels way too Trigger and way too zany.
Okay. That's taste, right? I feel like, like Cole said, the plot is not something that matters with this. The interesting thing is that it kind of bait and switches you just a little bit, where it starts off the first 5 episodes are literally like pure episodic. Mm-hmm. And then the last, 7 episodes basically are kind of the same, but there's a bit more of an overarching plot as soon as those demon sisters are introduced a little bit. Knee Socks and Scanty. Yeah, there's kind of It does the classic Gainax Studio Trigger thing where they like start off with a simple thing and they're like, how can we make this like absolutely batshit insane by the end? Mm-hmm. And then they do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. the pacing and the plot of this is really what gives me those Saturday morning cartoon vibes. The way that the way that they've got title cards for each segment of it, where the characters say the name of the show, felt very like, SpongeBob-ish.
Yeah. In the sub, do they say the name and then make fun of the name? Was that a thing they did as well?
No, they just say the name.
They just they just say the name.
They just say the name and with their accents. So, and yeah, I thought it was very, very charming with that. It also allowed for them to be kind of creative in like how they tell the little episodic stories. Like one of my favorite episodes was essentially a bottle episode where the camera doesn't move at all. It's just Panty and Stocking sitting on the couch. And while I was watching it, I was just thinking like, man, this is a very like bold creative choice to like go from like a heavy action show to kind of just this like character piece where they're waiting for food and kind of complaining.
So the whole time I watched this, I couldn't help but think of something that I read earlier where this show was basically conceived when the staff of Gainax was on vacation. They were just like drunk and they jokingly suggested the idea of this show. And when they got back, they were like already committed to doing it. So they just did it. And I feel like you can really tell that they just basically had a ton of fun and just did whatever the hell they wanted to for basically this entire runtime of this show. Yeah. And that's a good example of it where someone was like, what if we have an episode where like they just stay on the couch the whole time? And they're like, let's make it happen. Where
people just come in and out of the environment. Like it's very sitcom-y in that episode. But then like the next episode, they'll be like out gallivanting about fighting ghosts and whatnot. I thought that in another show where it was very plot heavy, they wouldn't have been able to do that. So I liked that. That. And there was one episode where they end up as zombies, and the next episode they don't address it at all.
I know.
Yes. Don't think about it too hard. You're thinking about it way too hard.
Yeah. However much you're thinking about it too hard.
Yeah.
Let us think about it.
Why I feel like when we alluded to the big spoiler at the end that happens, I feel like that's what's going to happen with that big spoiler. Is just like probably nothing's going to even come of it.
Yeah.
And they're just going to not even really. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even address it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Or they kind of just like brush it away, kind of.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, by the way, that didn't happen. That barely happened.
Yeah. The show starts with them on the couch, and they're just like, hey, remember when this happened?
Yeah, it was a dream or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. I could see that. I could see them doing that. That would be. Depending on how they do it, it could be a funny bit.
Or they just don't address it at all.
Or they don't address it.
I could see any combination of all of those too.
Yeah.
Or the whole show is based around it.
Yeah, or it's a sequel.
They did actually already go on record saying that the season 2 will take place after the events of episode 13.
Well, I'll talk to you guys off air about episode 13 because the trailer starts referencing the end of the show.
Yeah, I saw that. So they've committed to at least carrying on from that point. How whether or not it lasts 13 seconds or not, we'll find out.
Yeah.
We will see. What were the main themes you picked up on this show, Mike?
You guys are laughing, but I actually have one.
Okay. Go.
So, I guess
you're better at this stuff than we are.
Your feelings matter, I guess.
Okay.
The main themes of the show kind of shown through in the last 2 episodes, like kind of like, be yourself. Your feelings matter. Don't try to be something you're not. Like those kind of things, because like the whole thing is like Panty and Stocking are like being like doing these things, and then like by the end Panty's like, oh, I gotta be this so I can do this, and she's like told like, no, just like if you want to do this, like why not?
You do you.
I think that a theme I took out of this is that love will prevail. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. I think that's a good take, though. Yeah.
I thought this show said a lot about us as a society. I think
I think this show said a lot about what a bunch of bored animators who just are given freedom to do whatever the hell they want for 13 episodes.
Yeah.
I think this is what they come up with. And it's just basically a bunch of fart and poop jokes and like a joke about literal semen ghosts storming a tissue factory because they're getting revenge on the tissue.
Yeah.
Literally episode 1 is Panty getting pooped on.
Yeah.
And
it was
fart ghost, and it's toilet humor at its finest, I'd say.
It's a lot of toilet humor, a lot of vulgar humor.
But done by a lot of very talented people.
Yes.
Yeah. It's very clearly the style of the guy who started Trigger.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you make comparisons to this show for? Like what would you, if somebody liked this show, what would they like, or vice versa, would you say?
That's a tough one for anime, right? Because like
I know,
it's so
there's a lot of Western
influenced.
Stuff. Yeah,
there's that too, but like I feel like if you like Trigger stuff, like you'll probably like if you like Kill la Kill, if you like shows like that, this will probably interest you.
Kill la Kill for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Kill la Kill. I kept thinking this as I was watching it. I feel like Trigger, because it's the same people, right? I feel like when they made Kill la Kill, they maybe were even inspired by Panty and Stocking because they never got to do their season 2.
Yeah,
because apparently what held it up for so long to get a season 2 done was Gainax owned the rights to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the only reason it's happening now is because Gainax is gone, like actually gone.
Finally gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Space
Fooly
Patrol
Cooly.
Luluco. Oh yeah, Fooly Cooly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Space Patrol Luluco. If you couldn't hear my suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of Western stuff. I mentioned Ren and Stimpy, Powerpuff Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Those are probably
if you're a fan of like Western
ones.
cartoons in general, like I'd say like at least give this a look at.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think you could watch this one dubbed and not even know it was anime.
In a way, yeah. Other than like the like comedically anime character shots.
Right. Yeah,
but
one that comes to mind too that I just thought of after looking a little bit here is a show that I don't think either of you watched, but Magical Destroyers from a couple seasons back.
Oh yeah,
actually kind of carries on in spirit of a lot of this. It's got like the Powerpuff Girls, this like the 3 heroines that kind of transform. It's got like the kind of off the wall humor a little bit, very meta.
Yeah, the meta aspect is pretty big. I'm just kind of looking through the recommendations, and here's a good one too: Gushing Over Magical Girls. Yeah, I think that those are pretty comparable as well.
Pop Team Epic.
Yeah.
Pop Team
Epic. I think
Epic.
Pop Team Epic also carries the like episodic. Each episode has like 2 different skits type thing going, right?
Yeah.
Even more, I think. They're usually just short skits.
It's like a lot of like 2-minute skits, and then like they do the episode. So Pop Team Epic will do the same episode twice, but with different voice actors in one episode.
Oh, that's right. That's their whole thing.
Things.
Yeah,
that's their whole thing. That's right.
Yeah, very off the wall humor.
Yeah.
And then I guess just us looking through here as well. Of course, we got Gurren Lagann. Pop Team Epic, like we said. Space Dandy. I haven't seen Space Dandy, so I don't know.
Space Dandy.
It's the composer for Space Dandy also did the music for this show. So like if the music stood out to you, maybe.
Did you guys catch, by the way, that Lisa, like Garenge Lisa, did the lyrics to the song for the music video?
I did see that. Yeah.
Is that Lisa?
It is. Yeah. I looked it up.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I saw the credit was credited as Lisa. But at the time,
this is why
she wasn't
I'm kind of saying,
huge.
like, I think there's a lot of very talented people that were just given complete freedom to do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
An interesting recommendation on here, Jay, and I'm curious. I like artistically, I can see this recommendation. Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, so that's
takes off.
So Mike alluded to this when he first pitched the review. That I had this in my planning, and the reason is because I finished Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, and this was one of the top recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I should check this out. And like, I think this show is a lot zanier than Scott Pilgrim.
Mm.
And it has less of a narrative, but like in terms of like referencing other media and like kind of having that like comic book aesthetic where like you'll see the automatopoeia for different different things pop up on screen. Like that's very Scott Pilgrim.
Right.
So like if you like that kind of style, probably, but like if you're looking for a deep narrative or any narrative like Scott Pilgrim, no.
Yeah.
It's probably not the
I think
barking up the wrong tree here.
When you compare this one to Scott Pilgrim a little bit, I think it's kind of like last week when I recommended Little Witch Academia, or not Little Witch, Witch Hat Atelier to fans of Berserk, where they're very different, but I think the audience might be the same. Whereas I think you might like things like these two things. I think there might be an overlap there, except I think with the big difference here is that for Panty and Stalking, you have to be okay with the triggerness and the vulgarity of it all. Yeah. Whereas Scott Pilgrim's pretty tame in terms of all that stuff.
I think there's a Venn diagram for the two shows.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, let us announce, proclaim to the ether, to the world, to the internet, what our final thoughts and our ratings are for Panty and Stalking with Garterbelt. Michael, you made us watch this. Take it away.
Go first. I always go first. I think this is a very interesting take on a lot of different Western media. I think it's a show that you can tell it's just breathing with charm and character in the way that the people who are working on this clearly were just doing it because they wanted to do it. They were not making this show to sell figures at an anime convention. They weren't making this show to appeal to a mass audience. They were beaten down Gainax employees who were just like, let's make something flippin' insane. And they did that. And there's really not much else like this show out there, even though we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about shows that are like this show. They're not, none of them really are like this show. I've never seen anything like this. And I probably never will again, because I don't know how much like this original 13 episodes season 2 will be. Just because the climate of the world is different. I don't know that we can do the same stuff, but I'm curious to see where it goes. I thought it was animated really well. I thought both the sub and dub, even though I kind of poo-pooed the dub or the sub a little bit, I thought they both had their merits. I think for a certain audience, there is a lot to like here. And I think you'll know if you like it or not pretty quickly. I would say that you should watch probably at least 3 episodes, just because I feel like the first episode, it took you a bit to get into it and kind of get on the ride and continue along with the show, instead of just kind of being like, it's a shock when you first turn this on, especially if you're like not ready for it. And with all that said, I'll turn the mic over to my co-host here and leave it with my rating of I'm gonna give it a tickle of the old jimmies for this one. I think that's a very fitting rating for this one. Is it tickled my jimmies thoroughly?
Apt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this one's very, very frustrating, I guess, because like on a technical standpoint, this show looks great. It sounds great. It feels like it was competently done. But I'm just not a trigger guy. And like I couldn't get into the zaniness of this show. And I think that if you want something with a bit more like, I don't want to say like with a bit more seriousness, but like if you're watching anime because of like plot or whatever have you, you're probably not going to find that there. However, if you just like, you're a fan of Trigger, and you like things like Kill la Kill, I'd say check this out. So, but for me, if it weren't for the review, I probably would have dropped this after episode 3.
Yeah. And now finally for me, I think that this show was a breath of fresh air that I needed. I like I like shows with overarching plots and stuff like that. I like complex storylines, but sometimes, I just want to be a kid watching a Saturday morning cartoon, and that's what this show was to me. Granted, it's very adult humor. Take that out of it, and just the structure of the show itself is very Saturday morning cartoon, and clearly inspired by that type of show as well. The title cards for each segment of the show, the art style of it in and of itself, all of the references to Saturday morning stuff and other anime in general. I had a blast watching this one. Super easy binge. The music's great. The animation is great. Like Mike said, you could tell that these people were having a good time making this show. Maybe thinking, this is probably... Because they're going to start a studio. They probably had a good sense that, this is probably the last thing that we're going to work on here at Gainax. Let's just make something ridiculous.
We're quitting anyway. Let's just kind of do what we want.
Yeah. And I think that this show screams that independence attitude that they would have had at the time. I might be reading into it too much, but that is what it is. It's definitely not a AniPro certified. I wouldn't go that far. But it definitely personally tickled my jimmies. My jimmies, once again, thoroughly tickled, appropriately so, by Panty and Stocking. With Garterbelt as well.
With Garterbelt, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, don't forget about Garterbelt. So that's the review for Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. Let us know what you thought of the show down below as well. Just a quick reminder too, we've got manga review coming up. So the manga that I suggested is DanDaDan, chapters 1 through 23. That is your homework.
Read it now.
Yeah. So we'll be reviewing that in the next few weeks. And our next anime review, this will be a fun one. This will be a good one. The Berserk 2016. So that'll be coming up next month. We've also got our listeners' choice. Hey man. Hey, I'm in it. I'm in it too. I'm in it with it. I'm in it with you guys. We've got our listeners' choice stuff out right now. You can vote between Free, Yuri on Ice, Chihaya Furu, and Haikyuu. Notice they're all sports anime. That was the theme.
Yes.
That was the theme we went for this time.
Yes. And where all can they vote? Because I think when this episode comes out, we'll start the vote, right? And you can
the vote's
vote.
Been ongoing for a while. On some places.
Just on Twitter or
Twitter
X?
and YouTube.
Oh, okay. Never mind. It's begun already. Jay has begun it.
You can vote
Instagram,
everywhere.
You can vote in Discord. And there'll be a special extra vote in the... I think Spotify will have one as well. And then there'll be one in the description of this episode as well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Mike mentioned it, Discord as well. Join us in as many things as you want because you get as many votes in...
And if you become a patron, you get an extra vote.
That's right.
Another vote.
There you go. Yeah. And patrons how we tally it up is whichever... Each platform counts as one vote towards our eventual thing. So every vote matters in this case for sure. Yes.
Well, this is a democracy.
And we'll announce the winner after our review of Berserk 2016.
On the Berserk episode. Yeah.
Yes.
So in a month, give or take. So thank you so much for listening to another episode of AniPro. If you liked it, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend about us. If you really like us, why don't you consider supporting us on Patreon like these lovely people, Mr. Family Guy 36, Elijah Wood, Braindead B-Dog, Nina Tucker is Best Waifu, Peach, Frama, Kratos, Just Juz, Mogmog, Freeren's Feet, Antonio Bustos, and Uncle of Light. By supporting us on Patreon, you get access to all sorts of perks, and it really helps out the show. We're also on social media at AniProPod, and please join our Discord community to keep up with us and other listeners. Links to everything is in the description or on our website.
Yes.
AniProPod.com. Jay.
Yeah.
Is it your... No. Yeah, Jay, you just take us out. I can't remember who did it last time.
So
we should
I
just have like an even or
fade,
odd thing.
I want to fade out on this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
Panty and Stocking is the Gainax equivalent of going, what if we recorded our audio separately and then just uploaded it?
It actually
Kind
is,
of.
though. It kind of is, though.
Yeah, kind of is.
It's a meme, the show. It's all one big joke.
And just before we actually wrap this up, let us know in the comments who you think didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all watched it.
We all watched it. We all
actually watched it. You could tell because we all talked about it.
Yeah. Or we really, really researched it thoroughly. Maybe that's what we're doing. Is
we're
one of us doesn't
really
watch
good
it
at BSing.
and just really researches.
Some
Spend more
super
time
fans gonna be
researching
like,
than just actually watching the show.
Could you imagine if one of us just didn't watch the show at all and only researched it?
Or the guy who just didn't watch the show and only researched it.
So anyway, we say as we do. We say.
I thought I was.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay.
He's taking it from you. He's taking it from
He took
you.
the reins.
Yeah.
I took the reins.
Mm-hmm.
And we say as we do at the end of every episode of the Anime Protagonist podcast. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.